I just find it a bit weird. I don't have any relationship in my life that I feel I need to go wandering around all the time. Yes, I'm still in a special relationship. It's a very special relationship. It really is. All a little bit peculiar. Pick any strand of it which you would like to, whether it's NATO, whether it's special relationships or beyond.
There's been no British leader of NATO in a generation. And the role of Secretary-General of NATO is one that fell out of fashion a little bit in times when people thought the alliance had less purpose and has now come back into real focus. I thought that it was time, and I thought Wallace was the right candidate to lead it. And it's a real shame, in my view, that it is an American veto that stopped it too. There's no doubt about it. You can always try and read between diplomatic lines, but it seems to me very clear it's the White House that said no too, not the State Department.
And do you think Ukraine should be added as a member of NATO?
I think you should never... Part of the rules in NATO say you can't admit a state that's undergoing conflict at the time of its application to admission. Live question for me. The Swedish application currently seems a much stronger one. But the point I was going to try to make was that the reason that people go around saying things like it's a special relationship is in part to reassure themselves that that's still the case. It's plainly our most important alliance, but that doesn't mean the same reciprocally. And when the Americans do something like that, vetoing Wallace and seeking to prefer, it seems to me, the candidacy of a vastly incompetent Ursula von der Leyen, it says something about our relationship.
Peter.
Well, there is no special relationship. I spent some time hunting for it when I lived in Washington, D.C., and met mainly with laughter. There is no such thing. There never has been any such thing. The Americans don't regard us as their special friends. They don't value us particularly highly. They will treat us as they wish to treat us when they wish to treat us that way. If they require our friendship, then they'll ask for it. If they want to trample us, then they will, as they did most notably in Northern Ireland, where they backed provisional Sinn Féin against the supposed most long-lasting NATO and World War II ally. If we can only divest ourselves of this ridiculous puppy dog desire to have the Americans tickle our tummy and tell us that we're a good boy, we could actually have much more of a role in the world. The French, especially under Charles de Gaulle, but since then have very sensibly taken the view that they will run their own independent foreign policy, and if that annoys the Americans, too bad. And in general, as a result, they get treated better by the Americans than we do. Nobody ever respects a toady. And it is the most ridiculous thing. I don't know why so many people go along with it and repeat it and carry on talking about special relationship. The visit this morning was farce. Joe Biden turned up. There's no evidence he even knew where he was. He went into this building.
That's a more general issue.
And saw. It's not a more general issue. He went into this building. He saw somebody who he's bumped into at a few previous summits, said a few completely unimportant words to him, and then went away again. It's all done because the Foreign Office begged him to do so. Said, please, please, please come and show the special relationship, because British Prime Ministers, with few exceptions, have this absurd delusion that the British public wants them to be seen with Americans and thinks they're more important if they are. We really have to grow up as a country, recognise that we're not a great power anymore. We have many important and useful things about ourselves, and stop trying to suck up to the Americans and be their poodle, because if we do, they will occasionally use us like that, but we get no thanks for it.
It's a matter of perspective.
There aren't any thanks available. Gratitude is not a diplomatic emotion.
It's a matter of perspective, I suppose. You say infantilising or puppy dog or sucking up, and I think that British Prime Ministers of both political persuasions have sought to emphasise the appropriate importance attached to the most important alliance we have in the world, like it or not.
Why is it so important?
Because they are our most important military and strategic ally. But I was trying
what way?
Defensively and indeed
what interests do we share?
Abroad.
What interests do we share?
The promulgation of democracy, the defence of the rule of law. It's our most significant trading partner by miles. We are there.
So we were propagating democracy and defending the rule of law. We were propagating democracy and defending the rule of law when we jointly invaded Iraq. Yes, illegally.
I don't know how many times you want to have the same argument. I think that we were, right? Nevertheless, the fact that you don't like the things we do together doesn't mean it's not an important relationship.
I mean, you can't simultaneously talk about promulgating democracy when you intervene in Irish politics on the side of a terrorist organisation.
It's like wrestling with jelly. You keep shifting the target.
No,
but if we talked about, you're going to maintain
same
Saddam Hussein was a
thing.
democracy.
The slogans bear no relation to reality.
All right. Well, I was simply seeking to make one point about the things that you said, which was that Joe Biden not knowing where he is not an affront to the British. That's a more general situation.
Oh.
Right? The fact that he nevertheless stopped here on the way to Lithuania, on your view, indeed, it might be something that the British asked them to do. Of course, they didn't have to. It was a meeting between our two heads of government, and I thought it was a positive.
Well, they might as well. I mean, when American presidents are going around the USA on Air Force One, they will stop sometimes in states to pick up and put down local politicians because it suits them at a particular time to do so. That's how American politics works. We're basically being treated as if we were the state of Great Britain land, somewhere between Iowa and Nebraska. It's not the way a serious independent power needs to be treated or should be treated, and we should get over it.
Well, I'm going to give you at home the final word and thought on that. GBViews at gbnews.com is how you get hold of me.